Hello and welcome. I'm Andrew Lodato, representing the Retail AI Council, a retailer-built and retailer-led organization dedicated to helping our industry embrace the potential of AI. Our mission is to guide and empower retailers to navigate the rapidly changing landscape of AI technology, enabling them to stay ahead of the curve and unlock new opportunities for growth. Today, we're excited to dive into a session that explores these innovations in depth. AI, what's real versus what's ideal. As you all know, the retail industry has experienced nearly a decade's worth of growth in just a few short years. And with that growth comes a wave of innovation, from advancements in consumer product manufacturing to the rapid adoption of cloud and AI capabilities. Retailers are continuously evolving. I'm thrilled to introduce our esteemed speakers who will guide us through today's discussion. First, we have Justin Hahnemann, Head of Worldwide Retail and Consumer Goods Industry and Strategy at AWS. Justin brings a wealth of experience in leading retail and consumer goods strategies on a global scale, helping businesses leverage AI to drive innovation and enhance customer engagement. Justin is also a good friend and an all-around great guy. Joining him is Michael Connor, also a great guy. Connor is the global generative AI product leader in retail and consumer goods at AWS. He is also at the forefront of AI product development, focusing on how generative AI can revolutionize the retail sector, from improving operational efficiency to elevating the shopper experience. Together, they'll provide insights into what's truly possible with AI in retail today and what remains aspirational. I'm confident their expertise will offer you valuable perspectives on how to harness AI to propel your business forward. We encourage you to ask questions. Just use the Q&A button at the bottom. And now let's dive into this session.
Awesome. Hey, Andy, thank you so much. Thanks, Doug. Thank you to those of you that are here with us today. I personally couldn't wait for this session. I was looking forward to it, not only to spend time with all of you, but I don't get to spend much time with my partner here, Michael Connor, presenting enough. And last year, we'll tell you some stories in a minute, but it was every day. What is generative AI and what is AI? And so today will be, I think, excellent. My goal is that you get to know us a little bit, but more than anything, you walk away today with just some real examples of what's real and what's ideal or what's not so ideal as it relates to this topic. There's been so much excitement and energy around it. And also a lot of companies are like, hey, I get it. Now we're focused on that and other things. And so for our roadmap for the next, let's say 30 to 40 minutes is I'm going to start us off and I'm going to give you some of the background where we've come from, both at Amazon and also just around the AI topic. And then we're going to get to some examples of what's real. And we'll show you where it's coming to life, what it looks like. We'll show some demos very quickly. So you're not going to get a lot of build up on what is retail and what are we doing in retail today. We're diving deep quickly into the AI topic. We're assuming you being here, you know the industry. So if you want the industry overview, reach out. We'll do that another time. And then just a quick reminder, there is a Q&A section on the bottom. We would appreciate you jumping in with questions there, and we'll address those as we go today. And then towards the end, we'll have even more time for that. So with that, I am going to share my screen, and we're going to dive into some content here. And if I can just get one of you, maybe Connor, to say you can see the screen, that would be awesome.
Yep, that's good.
All right, cool. All right, so if we haven't already connected, reach out to us. We'd love to be connected with you. I lead our worldwide retail and consumer goods industry strategy and BD team. It's a lot of words. And Connor has been our Gen AI lead since beyond when this whole thing came to life last year. And we've got some really fun and interesting stories to share with you and on what we've done in retail and how we've worked with retailers. But here's somewhat of our roadmap. I'm going to give you a quick view of just what we're seeing across retail. I'm going to share with you also some of how broader Amazon is using AI. And then when we get to some of the examples, I'm going to hand to Connor to dive deep into some of those. And then he and I will bounce back and forth on some really great use cases. And again, we're bringing this to life to you today. So it's not a bunch of slideware for 45 minutes. I'm going to hit some slideware for you just to help you understand where Amazon is. But then we're going to just show you how some of the tools work and the implications with data and whatnot. So, all right. Hopefully you know Amazon, but just in case you think of us as Amazon.com, thank you very much for those that shop on Amazon. Or you think of us as AWS, thank you very much if you work with AWS. But Amazon is much broader. And many of the retailers that we work with and the consumer goods brands we work with many parts of Amazon. Okay. And so what you're going to see today is some of how the broader set of companies underneath Amazon are using AI, machine learning, and generative AI. And we'll try to bring some of that to life for you. Most people don't know, where Amazon sits from in these different areas, and this hopefully gives you some perspective on how some of our companies come together to serve the industry. Now, just so you also know, on the AWS side, we moved to an industry-aligned model in the last year or two. So whenever you're talking to us, you're going to get retail and consumer goods under one portfolio of, I'd say, of team members and whatnot. And in retail, here are the big topics that we're really focused on that our customers are asking us about and are dialing into. You'll notice one box is AI, ML, and Gen AI. But there's a lot more, right? I mean, especially this year, and we're not going to, again, this isn't the purpose for this call, but things like composable commerce, in-store tech, loyalty, customer engagement, the whole idea around demand planning and forecasting, some of the new tech there are top of mind. And so while today we're focused just on AI, just know that, and you guys are probably already seeing this in your business, but it's much broader. Now, what about generative AI? So Connor and I, starting last March, and we've tried to narrow down the date on this, but from March to like September, it was every day, all day, and that was the only thing in the day, was meeting with many retailers and consumer goods brands, and not just the CIO or CTO or head of infrastructure or analytics. It was like the CEO, the board. We presented to multiple boards. The CMO, the supply chain officer. I have this bell on my desk. Like every day we'd have this call. Anytime someone said generative AI, I'd ring the bell. It's like crazy. And it's because there was so much noise and interest in this area, right? I mean, look at the investments that are being made across lines of business and then Amazon also, right? We launched a platform late last year, which you'll see shortly. It's brought up a lot of questions around things like, hey, do I need to think about new skill sets, right? And within my organization, do I need to be concerned about my hiring practices or who I'm putting in different roles? What about the data? Right? I mean, you can't do Gen AI without data. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but that's a huge limitation. And so, in retail, things like e-commerce being separate than physical stores is a problem, right? If you want to do Gen AI across those. So these are things that we're hearing from customers, and still to this day now making it more real. We get questions often on, hey, what are you doing in this space? What are the models and how do I use those models from you on the Amazon side? What are other customers doing? This is where we're going to dive into today. Like, what are the real use cases and examples? I'm tired of hearing my consultants and other tech vendors, say they're into generative AI, but they're really not. And these are things that we feel just about every day. I mentioned that March to September timeframe. From September till around February, March this year, we saw a lot of companies getting into testing, trialing, use case examination, proofs of concept, et cetera. And now we're into a place where some have really accelerated, some are continuing their proofs of concept and testing. And for the most part, running that in parallel with some of those other priorities that I showed you on the earlier chart. Now, there might be somebody here on this call that doesn't know what generative AI is, and that's okay. I just threw this in actually before we hit record. Doug had said something about how do we know if something's traditional AI versus Gen AI. We'll help you with that. I think that's actually a great question because some of the things you might be thinking about that are generative AI can be solved with typical machine learning. And so just know that the way that we framed it and the industry's framing it is it's all part of AI. And so while the last 18, 19 months have been a lot of swirl on generative AI, where we are and where we find our customers now is it's all part of AI. And there are different ways to solve different types of problems. Okay, so what about Amazon.com? Well, many different places that you're starting to see this technology being integrated. And I'm going to flip through quite a few here very quickly just to give you a sample. And then remember our roadmap today, I'm going to hand it over to Connor, and he's going to dive deep into like solving some specific retail customer problems. But image search is an area that's absolutely taking off. And you think about how Amazon is looking at and using different types of AI, you'll find examples on the fit and size recommendation side around fashion and apparel. You'll find it in terms of putting products in different locations in your home or office. Conversational search and shopping. We'll show you Rufus in a few moments, and of course, product reviews. Actually, one of the attendees here, I see, last year we did a proof of concept or a test with him, and he gave us hundreds of product reviews that typically had to be manually reviewed and summarized. And in literally seconds, you're able to apply a model to that and do what you see here happening on Amazon.com, which is basically taking a large language model and applying that to the reviews on specific products. Another place that you see Amazon leveraging this on Amazon.com is what's called diffuse to choose. So the whole idea here is it's fascinating. The ability to take a product and then apply that product or switch out that product or service. It's almost like a virtual try-on type function. And so in terms of the shopping experience and making that more enriched, you can see how that's being applied here. And by the way, many of the things I've already shown you, you could do on your own e-commerce platform using similar tech. The ability to put products in different locations. I mean, the furniture segment is so fascinating because you can take product and move that around different rooms or settings. And on the right side, you'll see these things called prompts. We're going to spend time explaining what that is and what that means in a moment, if that's unfamiliar to you. And for some of you where it's very familiar, we're going to even go further and show you how specific you've got to be on some of those prompts. We use generative AI to train Amazon One. That's our payment mechanism, using your palm to pay basically at checkout. And that is now actually expanding into many, not only at Amazon stores, but physical retail stores to allow payment. And all you do is register your palm with a credit card. It's powerful and super interesting. And then to take a bigger look at how Amazon's using Gen AI to make it easier to search, you can see from everything from looking at images and text to visualizing products on a table or whatnot, to discovery, different elements on your mobile phone in terms of search and whatnot. It's powerful. Couple others here, 3D AR. And again, I showed you some of the putting this on top of like locations, but here you can see actually taking product, visualizing that product in different ways. And you can see the example on the right here that's coming up, the ability to put a product, for example, on the floor, and then you can actually spin it around once it's there. All of this powered by generative AI. Virtual try-on, we actually have this in our innovation center in New York. You can try this out anytime when you're there, but the ability to try on different sneakers, for example, or sunglasses. These are things that today are powerful. Looking at sales trends, the ability to find product using an image search. If you didn't notice, on your Amazon app, at the top, there's actually a little icon for an image. You can barely see it because it's coming in and on this background. But if you use that and take a picture, for example, this cup, service tumbler here, you will see how using image search works on Amazon. Again, you can do that on your own site today. So many different ways to do that. In a minute, Connor's going to talk about conversational search. And what we're going to get to shortly is how retailers are using Gen AI to really power what they are doing from a market perspective. I'll sum it up before I hand to Connor and just say, here are the major areas that are real, okay? Customer experience, a total no-brainer. The ability to use Gen AI to power the contact center is live in production today and powerful. Personalization, all new levels of personalization now with generative AI. On the creative side, you're going to see images from Michael. By the way, he goes by Connor. I don't know why I even said the word Michael. Connor in a second. And if you're in marketing or you have agencies, like this is a game changer and it's real. And the ability to make and create and modify images and whatnot, we'll talk about that. On the left side of the screen here around productivity, so we talked about search earlier, summarization of reviews, coding. So some of you are very technical. the ability to QA code, ask what's in code, the ability to change code from one language to another in seconds is unbelievable. And then in the ops space, there's some use cases in supply chain forecasting, demand planning, replenishment, and whatnot. But plenty of use cases in like sourcing and procurement as you think about contracts that have been created with vendors and suppliers, the ability to run through that quickly. So I hit a lot of material very quickly, but that's how we're running here today, because we're trying to give you as much to think about of what's real in the market. And what you've just seen is kind of how some of the ways that Amazon's bringing that to life. Let me invite up Michael Connor now, and he's going to dive deeper on some other parts of Amazon, as well as show you how we're bringing this to life with some of our customers. So Connor, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Justin and I are neighbors. We live down the street from one another in Atlanta, and we both were at Coca-Cola for quite a while. So always fun to do these with Justin. So I wanted to cover, I'm data science background. I led data science and innovation in one of the BUs at Coca-Cola. So I tend to be a little bit geekier. I tend to get two sets of feedback when I do these. One is it was too technical, and one was it was not technical enough. And so I want to really get into showing some real models. We'll show actual prompts, a little bit of code. I promise it won't get too nerdy, but I really want to show you how Amazon approaches this stuff, how we're building it into our retail environments, how other customers are doing this, what you can practically do. And I want to go through a lot of use cases, and true to the title of the session, give you a sense for what's actually real. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And so Justin kind of showed Amazon Rufus, and I wanted to dive in on that a little bit and show you kind of technically how you can approach that kind of thing. And so let me see if I can get rid of the screen. So Amazon Rufus is essentially what we have on our site. If you go to your mobile app, make sure you have an up-to-date version of Amazon. If you go to that on the bottom right corner, you'll see like a little like blue and gray icon. You can pop that up and you can ask questions. And so let me show you a quick video that I use this now for everything. A lot of times you want to know what people think about the reviews or think about quality. You want to be able to compare two products. And before, you had to go and sift through potentially hundreds or thousands of reviews. And now it's a kind of thing where you're just asking natural language questions. And what it's doing is it's looking at the product catalog that we have with hundreds of millions of products. And it's also looking at what customers have left in the reviews. And so I think this is a powerful way to help people find products they love, but then also to reduce the return rates. So I think every retailer doing e-commerce knows that your margins get hit pretty hard when you get returns. They're really difficult to process reverse logistics. And so anything you can do to make sure the customer gets a product that they love is very helpful. And so I wanted to dive deep on that in a second and show you actual prompts and things like that. So another thing I wanted to show you is kind of product catalog, helping the customer with like the customer experience, but then also ads and merchandising. This is a quick video kind of showing how we're thinking about ads. And when I was at Coca-Cola, and a lot of my customers now, they are going to an agency, they're giving a brief, you're giving brand guidelines, you're giving them your fonts and things like that. And a lot of times you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with an agency to make ads. And there's a few cool things I want you to get out of this. One is that I think in the future, employees or customers, you're going to talk to the systems instead of fumbling through menus and user interfaces. But in this case, we're going to tell it the kind of audience we're trying to reach. Of course, Amazon, we have pre-built segments like luxury beauty shoppers and natural beauty shoppers. And so from those, we could generate different marketing messages for each ad for those different segments or cohorts. And along with that, we can also generate different background images. And so it's the kind of thing that used to take weeks or months with an agency. And so this is the kind of thing that now that you can do. I think most advertisers will build this in. Some brands are doing this with like Adobe Firefly. But these capabilities are really powerful. I think it saves you a lot of money. And the other thing you can do is instead of launching maybe 5, 10 creatives, you can launch hundreds. and then you can automatically shut down the ads that aren't performing and double down on the ones that are performing. And so this is a really cool use, I think, generative AI text generation and the image generation. So the last video I want to show you, pharmacy. A lot of retail customers that I work with are pharmacy and convenience. And so there's a couple interesting ways that we're using generative AI. One is you saw the customer service agent. When people call customer service, we can help answer questions using generative AI, and we can make product recommendations and things like that. And so we can also do things like when we get the prescriptions from your doctors, every doctor has a different style for how they, they say to take it, the dosage, and when to take it. And so what we do is we use generative AI to normalize that. So the recommendations for the patient are always the same. And so you're not getting 10 different approaches from 10 different doctors. And so customer service is a big one. Of course, we do robotic, picking and packing. And at a university in Texas, we were experimenting with drones. This one always seems pretty wild to me. So that is not my neighborhood yet. Pharmacy is another big place where we're using a lot of generative AI. So, okay, a lot of customers ask me where this is going to affect their business. I think marketing and sales is a clear one. A company, Mark Anthony Group, we were working with to make White Claw. They use this very effectively in the sales channel. I think that this is the biggest opportunity for you in terms of revenue growth. And what they did is when a seller goes out to a retailer, they're actually having generative AI build the script, so they know the demographics, and they know the planogram, the assortment, pricing, and all of those things that a very sophisticated seller would know. Now a novice seller could go in and perform at a much higher level. Another customer I have is a $90 million business case for them, but they basically did the same thing where it used to take 4 hours for a seller to go talk to the customer and put together a plan and find the right products for them. And now they can do it in about 20 to 30 minutes. So I think sales is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's a revenue growth opportunity. It's hard to get good sellers and keep them sometimes. And the other thing is there's a human in the loop. And so a lot of brands are really nervous still about generative AI talking to their customers without them having control there. So I think sales is a big opportunity to have human in the loop and just feel a little bit more confident there. So we do have a few customers, not referenceable yet, where we are doing product catalog agents. So, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you find the right products? Just like we do on Amazon.com. We've got one brand that's actually doing a lot with analytics. So they're using generative AI to look at all of their supply chain data, ERP, sales, marketing data, so they can ask natural language questions. That's using something called QuickSight Q. So think of it as like a Tableau, MicroStrategy, Power BI type thing, but you can ask questions and get answers, like which of these campaigns was the most effective. So I think most of us have seen that it's hard for people to understand analytics and dashboards and things like that. And that's where we're seeing generative AI kind of help people that maybe not great in data and analytics be able to ask natural language questions and become more data driven. So a lot of customers, I'm seeing this in the high-end retail space, generating emails and generating scripts to do product recommendations. We've seen automated versions of that not perform very well, not have good click-through, but doing that with generative AI, generating that personalized email that the salesperson then can modify or add a little bit of a touch to, that's really effective too. So Adidas is one of our customers doing a lot with image generation. Of course, Amazon.com is one of our big customers as well, us being Amazon Web Services. Mad Mobile's a partner. They're doing a concierge product for retailers. And of course, Adobe's training a lot of their models and running a lot of their inference on here. So I put together this list of use cases for you.
Hey, Connor, I'm going to interrupt you and jump in real quickly.
Sure.
Before you get this slide. We had a question from our audience, and I think it's a great question from Gali Abati. It says, where are people seeing the highest returns, and what is the range of the ROI? This person read that people are getting between 5 to 10% return on investment for AI.
I think that's low. The use case I told you about the $90 million return on investment. That was for a fairly nominal investment in terms of AI technology. So I think that feels very low to me. I think especially if you're in the sales channel, I think where I see some people going is what they're doing is they're buying like seat licenses for AI assistants, and they're assuming that employees will use them. And what we're finding is that employees, they don't like to do things differently. They've been doing things for a long time in a specific way. They're also worried about their jobs. And so they tend not to use those assistants. So you're paying $20, $30 a seat for some kind of a chat, AI-based chat, and then the employees aren't actually using this. So in Amazon, we always think of everything in terms of a data product, right? So don't just give an employee some capability, generate a data product, for example, like that sales script generator or a product recommendation. So like three of the ones that I see a lot of customers focusing on is competitive intelligence, right? Seeing your pricing, what your competitors are doing, product assistant, which is what we're doing. We're seeing significant returns on that. Next best action is another one, and especially next best action in the sales channel and in manufacturing channel. So 5 to 10% seems very conservative to me, and I've seen like significant multiples return on investment, especially in the sales channel. So I think it just depends on how you approach it. And again, I think if you're thinking like employee enablement, that's probably consistent. Andy Jassy, who runs Amazon, just put something out last week where a lot of companies have old legacy code like Java that they have to upgrade, and he put out a bunch of statistics on the tens of thousands of hours we're saving in employee time doing just basic upgrades on software and things like that. So we're seeing developer productivity closer to 50%. Yeah, so I think that's fairly conservative, those numbers.
Perfect.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, keep them coming.
I can add on to that too. I mean, areas where we've seen maybe the most productivity, Connor, you were just mentioning like the coding piece. One of our major fashion apparel companies tried out a capability called Code Whisperer. In like 8 days, they tested it with 2 developers and rolled it out to all of them because they were seeing the return on just the speed of being able to get to natural language coding. The image space, for those that have an internal marketing team, the ability to take product images, and Connor showed you some. There's actually some even more interesting now. The ability to put for example, cans or bottles on different backgrounds. I think Connor's going to show you in a minute is powerful, and like the cost savings of using an agency versus doing in-house, and also just the speed of being able to get to different variations is powerful. A couple of our customers are very rudimentary in their e-commerce listings on their own website. Like it's not even like I can show you some examples. The basic description of product in the title, and then the actual product description is not detailed for any sort of search, and let alone behind the scenes any sort of AdWords and whatnot. I mean, and you don't even have to be. You could be a junior analyst and ask questions based on product attributes and be able to get that kind of content back. Whereas before, again, you have to pay a consultant or agency to do that. So those are the areas we're seeing like significant like efficiencies. And I'd say for the most part, it's an efficiency play versus like a revenue growth play. Some exceptions though, we just had, Connor and I have been working with a major food service distributor. They just rolled out a field sales app, which is incredible. And not only that it's serving up information, but the ability to capture information in the outlet. So powerful. But I'll hand it back to you, Connor, and we'll keep riffing on these different examples.
Yeah, so I've got a couple more slides, but I really want to get into the fun stuff. So we can probably come back to those. But a lot of what the slides share is that these are really across your business. Like I've seen people in procurement, people in legal and brand, and so it really covers a lot. So I wanted to show you something. We talked about Amazon Rufus, and here's a product. It's like some makeup brushes, and I intentionally picked one that's not available anymore. But I kind of want to show you like how we approach this type of thing. And so what we see is that you're not going to have generative AI applications. What you're going to do is you're going to embed generative AI in your mobile app, in your sales portal, in your sales app. And so this is where we get a little bit nerdy. This is called an API. And I don't want to scare anyone away, but it's an application programming interface. And what this does is this allows your mobile app or a website or any existing system that you have to call these functions and to basically to create generative AI content and capabilities in an existing site that you already have, right? So I'll give you an example. This is a generating a product summary. So as Justin talked about, if we have the ASIN here, which is kind of our UPC code, but so what we can do is we generate this for this specific product, which is this product here. And so what we're doing is we're having the AI come through and look at all of the merchandising info that we have, and it's looking at all the reviewers, and it's generating a really succinct response. This is a data format called JSON. And so again, if it's a mobile app or a website, you're not looking for an employee to generate this. You want this to be a data product that's scalable to millions of people simultaneously, right? So we're also asking it to come back the model to say, tell us what people liked and what they didn't like, right? So here, they like the softness, they like the value, they like the variety of these brushes, right? Lots of brushes. But they didn't like the bristles shed. Some people said that. Some people worried about the handle durability, seeing it cracked. And others said that there's a lack of labels, right? And so let me show you the actual prompt that generates this stuff. Let's see, that's a review summary. So here it is. And sorry, we're getting a little bit nerdy, but so what we're doing is we're setting some parameters on the model, and then we're telling the AI, we're saying, look, you're an Amazon e-commerce expert, and you create a concise summary of user reviews and product features. And so it takes a long time to get this and get it to be what you want. And so we told it we want some rating. We want to know how many people voted for these things, but we had to give it a bunch of data, right? Like, so for example, we say, start with the things that people do like and finish with the things that people don't, because we found people saying, like, the review would say, I don't like this, I do like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. And you kind of like, your head was spinning, right? And so we also said, look, if the reviewers are saying things, mention that, quote them, say some customers reviewing the product told us X, right? We want the format to come back in a data format. We always want to use English in this case, right? And also come back and use sentences and try to avoid bullet points and stuff like that. And so this is the entire prompt that put this together. And so here we actually have the input for all the reviews. So it's going and hitting our review database, and it's putting those reviews into this prompt. And that's actually what's coming back here and giving us this really valuable data you can now put inside of the experience, right? And so with that, we can also generate product descriptions, right? So generate a product description in Spanish, right? Talking about the features of the product. We can make sure that those are on brand voice. Let me do it in English here. So again, this portal that gets generated is a nice way. You give that to your mobile developers, and they can go and see all the generative AI capabilities in your business. You can put it in all different places. Otherwise, your mobile developers are working on generative AI. Same thing with the website developers, and everyone's going in different directions. And so this is actually streaming back. This interface just doesn't show it, but it comes back and it generates this product description. Of course, we can do it in a lot of different languages, right? So let me show you some of the functions here. Generating SEO keywords, generating product details that are on brand, and generating product images. Here's a product question. So this is actually just like Rufus, right? So let's ask a question. What do people say about the, we'll misspell, what do people say about the quality? So this is going back and it's pulling back all of the customer reviews. It's going through all those. And then, by the way, I'll show you the prompt in a second, but it's going through and it's making sure that we're honoring the people that paid for the product, because anyone can review. And we're also focusing on newer things. So these are the things that we learned when we were doing this kind of stuff, is a review from 3 years ago may have catched a design change, right? And someone leaving a review that didn't buy it may have an axe to grind. And so the prompts say that, call that out, that we want to focus on people that actually purchased it. So let me show you the prompt, and then I promise I'll get out of the nerdy stuff. Okay. So here's the question prompt. So again, this is what you give the generative AI. We're in the code here, guys. So we're saying, like, you are an Amazon e-commerce expert. You answer questions based on the product details So this data comes from the product database, your catalog, which you all have, and also the reviews gets put into here as well. So you do those database queries, you cram this in here, and then we're telling the models, we say, look, use less than 100 words, answering the same question that the person asked. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. So this is really key. You've heard about hallucinations. That's really important to prevent hallucinations. Also, because we're a retailer, and you're probably retailers too, we want to be able to start things by saying, according to the seller, or the seller indicates that. So you want to make sure you're not making claims about the product that would expose you to liability later, right? And that's really important, right? Use sentences. We want to avoid bullet lists and things like that. Don't add markup or other code, or we tell the models don't add other commentary. So we had another retailer that said, look, people love the Q&A on our website. So if we do a lot of Q&A and there's questions and answers, we've seen a sell-through rate increase of 6%. So they said, but we don't want to go through hundreds of thousands of products generating Q&A. So here what we're doing is, given what we know about the product, given what people are saying, we can actually generate questions and answers based on what we think people care about. And so here you can see this example. It's coming back into a data format, right? But like, what are the materials? How does it work on people with sensitive skin? Like, these types of things are very, very helpful for customers. And the prompt is really fun on that because we're actually giving it these guidelines, right, on how to respond. But then we're also telling it, what do customers care about? So customers we know care about, like, does it work for specific situations? Keep the language simple, avoid complex jargon. So we tell it 9th grade level, right? Give me clear, simple instructions. Tell me about maintenance. Do I have to charge this thing every night? Does the battery go out quickly? So essentially what we're trying to do is get ahead of things that are going to cause a return. So these are the things for this category that we know users care about. So you may have different prompts and different things that people will care about based on the category, right? And so those prompts, you may change those based on the category. So I hope that was interesting to you. If you're interested in product catalog AI, let me know, or let Justin know. We'd love to talk to you about this and kind of what we're doing in this space and making these capabilities available to some of the AWS through customers on AWS. So a couple other quick cool demos. Contact center. So a lot of times people call in, or they're emailing you. Those call logs tend to be WAV files or MP3 files or audio files. So most phone systems, including ours, Amazon Connect, will convert those to audio, or convert the audio to text. And so now we can ask questions like, what could the agent have done better? You can ask it in a bunch of different languages. And so now we're getting some insights on what these people could have done better. We can give feedback to the agent. We can answer this in all kinds of different languages. We can get call summaries. So these are the types of things that QA people would do, or the agents would do call summaries after. And so we've got some customers. One is a retail tire customer. What they do is, after each call, it generates all of this. So now they've got an analytics dashboard that show them, how are things going? Are there problematic agents? What are we getting right? What are people calling about? And so they can start to really change their customer experience. They can upsell things and create other revenue opportunities too. So Justin, I've got a bunch of other demos I want to share, but any other ones around that you want to cover?
Those are good. I think you could jump over also into Bedrock and show some of your image examples.
Yeah.
Of how this works a lot like ChatGPT, quote unquote, like just how the prompting works and the outcomes. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So so what we do, and I'll show you this, but this is our Amazon console. And what we do is we give you access to a lot of different open source models. Anthropic is probably my favorite. They are considered state of the art, like the best in the world right now in a lot of different aspects. And in the new capabilities, give you image analysis. And so I'll give you an example. Here is a footfall traffic over a planogram. And so what we can do is we're actually uploading that image, uploading this to the model, and we're saying, can you give me feedback? I think my session timed out here. So if it did, I can just log back in again. But we're basically saying, can you give me feedback on this planogram based on the footfall traffic and make product recommendations about where things should go to optimize revenue and stuff like that. So I might come back to this if it doesn't come back quickly. Yeah, it's re-authenticating here. So let me just show you. So here you can go in and you can change the model. We have models from like Facebook. This is running really slowly. So Anthropic, again, is one of the ones that I use the most, Claude 3 Sonnet, but we've got them for Meta, Mistral AI is an open source. We have our own models. And so here we're going to use that one from Anthropic, and we're going to say, hey, basically analyze this this footfall traffic, a heat map, and tell me about my my store layout and how I can optimize that. So this just took a second. Sorry about that. So retail planogram. Oh, here's the retail footfall. Here we go. So then we can run this, and what it's going to do is the model will come in, it will do visual analysis of that, and it will come back and it will give us an explanation. And so the interesting thing is you can add all kinds of stuff to this prompt, like things that you know, things about your planograms and your layouts and stuff like that. And this did not return right. I might try this one more time. They don't always come back perfectly, and I had the temperature set up on this one. So we've seen a lot of these in terms of analyzing documents that you have, also analyzing analysis, like data analysis and things like that. So think of anything that you can imagine that's kind of like more image-based. And so let me try this.
And while you're running that, Connor, there was a question around hallucination. Is it still a major problem with, I would say, absolutely. And it says, what's your guidance on accuracy threshold retailers should be aiming for without an associate in the loop, for example, answering questions about products and whatnot?
Yeah. So let me close this out, and I'll answer that one about hallucination. So here, it finally did come back, and it says, hey, the entrance exit sees extremely high foot traffic. It's talking about, let's see, I think my prompt must have been wrong, but it talks about like the importance of strategic product placement with high margin or impulse items in the high traffic areas and stuff like that. This is not one of the better responses that I've seen, but hallucination is actually fairly easy to prevent now. What you can do is you can tell the model, if you don't know the answer, then say, I don't know. And so we can show an example of that here. Some of the older models, let me see if I can get it to hallucinate. You can basically, if you ask it a question, it will try to answer it even if it doesn't know. And so we can say, what is the I can't type, largest hippo ever recorded? And so normally, let's see if we can get it to do it. But yeah, look at this. It's coming back and it's telling us this very specific hippo called Humphrey and where it lived and how old it was and things like that. And this is a hallucination. And so the way that you can prevent that is we'll do the same prompt, and we'll say, if you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. And so normally this is enough to get the models to come back and realize it doesn't know the answer. And so that prevents a hallucination. So we've got a few things, something's called Amazon Guardrails, where we can control language and topics. And then some of these issues have been solved too. So I think for the most part, most retailers are a little bit more conservative. And so they're starting with human in the loop use cases. And that's why I think sales, marketing, and things like that are the prime candidates, right? So this was an interesting one. We worked with a retail oil and gas customer, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to use generative AI for pricing. And so this is a new product called Amazon Prompt Flow that is in preview. But basically what it allows you to do is to combine different prompts and different database calls. And so what it's doing is it's looking in this knowledge base for pricing strategies. and it is combining different prompts, and it's also getting historical data using an Amazon Lambda function, and it's pulling all this data together, and then it's making pricing. So normally a lot of customers just do pricing based on like historical data, but sometimes if you're trying to capture a new market, you say we don't want to be beaten on price. We always want to come in under the competition. And in this case, you're basically giving the models direction on what the pricing should be. And so the models are honoring that. And what the customer said they loved about it is the models give a very detailed explanation of why the price is what it is and how it came to that. And it ties those things back to that policy. So back to your hallucination question, for all of these, you always want the models to come back and tell you where to get the source data. So you say, quote the source data, look in my knowledge base, and give me a link back to that document so you can verify. So especially if you're doing something around revenue growth, that's really, really very important right before you make strategic decisions. So any other questions, Justin? We just cover a couple quick.
Yeah, hit these and then we'll get, I see there's a question out there on customer service. We'll come back to that in just a minute. I want you to hit these, the image piece here, Connor.
Yeah, I think customer service is one of the, the biggest opportunities. So a lot of people talk about image generation. A lot of people I see brands are frustrated. And I think the reason is because image generation is really hard. The models are just, there's a lot of variability. And so what I'm seeing is that customers want a lot more control. So for example, here, this is something open source called Comfy UI, and it allows you to control the models, to combine multiple models, to put your product images in here, to overlay QR codes. And so you're using the models where you want, but you're also getting control. So here we're saying we're generating an ad. It's Piedmont Park, Atlanta. We want the city skyline in the background. We can control the breed of dog, these types of things. And so you can see this model's running here. And what it's doing is it's generating a new pup. But of course, we're having tight control over the branding and the product and the QR code and the messaging and things like that. So the cool thing is we could generate, thousands of cities, different dogs, different times of year, different age, different breeds, pairs of breeds. So especially if you know something about your customer and the type of dog they have, you can do very highly targeted marketing, right? So this is background replacement. And again, like if you just tell a model to replace the background, you won't get what you want. And so this workflow is something you can build in a couple hours, and you can run this across your whole catalog. So this was the input image. And what it's actually doing is it's going through here and it's pulling out, using AI to pull out the backgrounds. And a lot of times if you have a terrible background, this is really great. And it then generates this background based on the prompt. Mm-hmm. And the amazing thing to me is it generates a lower res version, generates a higher res version here. And it does a pretty good job of the reflections. We asked it for like a hair studio vibe with marble and a flat background. And so you can see this is kind of running in real time. And so again, image generation is interesting. It's powerful, but you need these kinds of capabilities that give you the control. And here's where you can see the models pulling out the backgrounds. And so this is another interesting one where for R&D, we give it a sketch. And then we said, look, AI, we want you to use these two fabrics for the result. And in that, it comes back and it generates from that sketch, it generates this highly realistic image. So again, we're not just asking it to generate a random image. We're giving it a very, very specific sketch. It's doing analysis on that. We're giving it fabrics and it's putting those together. So that's where I think the biggest opportunities for brands are. I will say the product stuff is a little bit tricky because a lot of times the models will get the products wrong. They'll get the pattern wrong. They'll get the logos wrong. So I would say you want human in the loop with that. Here we're generating different people, different ethnicities, different body types. The models are a little bit better at doing that than getting the products right. Plus, there's a lot of variability in humans. Your product has to be stitch perfect. The pattern has to be perfect. And so generating backgrounds, generating other things like jewelry or sunglasses or things that you may not be selling. I think that there's a lot of opportunities there. So this was another fun one, generating mountains in the background. So basically the idea is ads should be very, very highly targeted now. And so this is actually another demo that Justin and I like to talk about is product descriptions, right? Where most retailers get data that looks like this from the manufacturers. and they want to and they need to generate product descriptions for SEO. You want romance copy, but it has to honor brand guidelines. So here we can actually generate these product descriptions, and we can generate them in a lot of different languages, and we can make sure they honor the brand guidelines. And so here we want it to be less than 50 words, but we're also asking the models to target this Prism demographic, right? So we're very specific about the target demographic. And so one of my customers had 1 million products, and they wanted to generate in 3 languages, and they had like 68 different demographics. So that was 220 million product descriptions, right? So you start to see the scale. Whereas if you give generative AI to an employee, right, 5 to 10% increase in productivity, right? But if you give generative AI to your product catalog, and you think of this more in terms of data products, and you're building things at scale, it's going to be really powerful, right? I'll stop there. There's 9 minutes left. So I want to make sure there's time for questions.
Yeah, one of the things I'm sure many are asking is either how to get started or how do you progress what you've already started. And I'll start. Maybe Connor, you can
Sure.
with me on that. But so first of all, many have already started, right? So for the organizations that already had a ML group or a analytics function or data function, many of them are already in testing different types of tools and want to experiment more broadly with not just one type or many types to understand and identify kind of what the value is coming out of it. Second, many are looking at this whole idea of responsible AI and how to manage the outputs from your AI work, like who owns the images, who owns the text, the context, how can you use it? Do you need to inform consumers or shoppers about that you're using AI? Those are things that many of our customers are working through with their legal teams and whatnot. And then the third thing I would just mention is, what's your operating structure? And I'll put up a quick slide here, but we have customers thinking about this in many different ways. And I would say there really isn't like one answer, but like, do you centralize the capability or do you allow that to be out in the business? What we've seen from most of our customers is that, IT or technology is really powering the data part of it and making the data available, as well as helping to kind of sift through some of the models and understand what the value is of different models and when to use various different types of models. At the same time, they have a very significant engaged line of business leader or leaders or curators of understanding of how to activate in the market. And so this is not something that is IT. The organizations that have said, oh, generative AI, that's down the hall at IT, are the ones that are falling behind. The ones we've seen that are moving the fastest have a good linkage between business and IT. Connor?
Yeah, the biggest thing I've seen is it's not the technology that's going to slow you down, is the change management and the people side of things, and aligning it with your business objectives. And so where I've seen customers be really effective is to build a matrix like this, where you're saying, what are all the different use cases? And we can help you with this. We'd love to. But say like, look, these are all the opportunities in the customer engagement space, and throwing that up on the wall and saying like, hey, some of these are visibility, but some of these are automation, right? Like product recommendations, upsell, a product recommendation service, right? Product reviews and product ratings. Like, so these are your different things that you could go do, but you're going to start with the ones that are least complex and that align with your business goals for the year. And so really focus on the business case. And the question earlier talked about return on investment. We can help you with that. We can say, hey, this is the ROI we've seen with this kind of use case. But if the business doesn't care about it, it's not on the work that matters most for the year, if the PMO doesn't care about it, then you're not going to get it approved and you won't get the change management, right? So Mark Anthony Group did that sales enablement piece. It took them a couple months to build the generative AI, but to get thousands of sellers to do something different every day, now that's hard. And so that's where you really have to have good alignment with the business, and good change management. And if you don't have that, it probably won't work out. So this will give you a great pipeline of where do we start, what's first, second, third, fourth. I've seen a lot of companies that try to do it all at once, and they've got 30 POCs and they've got nothing in production.
Right.
So if that's you, just start with 1 or 2, right? Get your governance down, get your organization down.
Yeah, with that, I'll thank you all again. I see some friendly faces, or names, I should say, in the list here of attendees. And I can't thank you enough, Andy and Doug, for inviting us. I mean, and I was just thinking about, like, we've done a lot of these presentations together. It's so fun just to dive in, like, just start showing stuff, you know, like, instead of the theory and the what could be, like, just really give all of you some sample of what could be, both on the tech and the biz side. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, well, thank you, Justin, and thank you, Connor. This was wonderful. I learned a lot. I want to give a special warm thank you to all of our Retail AI Council members and all of the attendees, everyone watching this live or recorded. And of course, feel free to follow up directly with any of us. We're all easy to find and easy to reach. So thank you very much.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.